heart of West Africa, a kingdom once rose, where power wore no crown. They called them the Agojie, women who walked as warriors and fought as shadows. Before the world called them Amazons, they had already become legend. They defended Dahomey not for glory, but for something sacred, for the promise of survival. And when history forgot their names, the earth remembered. Long before Europe spoke of empires, the kingdom of Dahomey stood in the forests of West Africa. It was not vast, but every inch of its soil was alive with order, faith, and fire. The king ruled from Agojie, a city carved with symbols of conquest and spirit. Walls told stories, every carving a warning to outsiders. This was not a land to be taken. In Dahomey, power was not inherited by blood alone. It was proven through courage, discipline, and devotion to the gods. And when men could no longer fill the ranks of defense, the women stepped forward, not as replacements, but as evolution. They became the king's bodyguards, then his soldiers, then his army. And soon, Dahomey's enemies would learn that to face the kingdom's fury was to face its daughters. They trained where the forests met the blood-red soil. Every sunrise began with silence, then the drums, rhythms that broke the night apart, and summoned warriors from ordinary women. To become Agojie was to abandon everything: family, comfort, fear. They slept on thorn beds. They ran until their feet bled. They learned to kill without hesitation and to die without regret. Their loyalty was sacred. They called their king father, and they swore that his enemies would never breathe again. But their strength was more than human will. Before battle, they drank from ritual bowls, chanted invocations, and anointed their weapons with the spirits of the fallen. To outsiders, it was savagery. To Dahomey, it was sanctity. Each warrior carried the spirit of Agojie, the ocean god of power and motion. And in their ranks, a single heartbeat could command hundreds. They were no longer wives or daughters. They were living symbols, the weapon and the shield of a nation. War came like thunder over the coast. The year was 1890, and the French Empire, armed with rifles, gunboats, and arrogance, marched toward Dahomey. They expected another conquest.
Victorious!
What they met was the sound of drums echoing through the jungle, the sound of women singing before battle. The Agojie charged through smoke and gunfire, their cutlasses flashing like lightning in the dark. No retreat, no mercy. Every fallen sister was fuel for vengeance. French soldiers wrote that they fought like demons. They weren't wrong, because the Agojie didn't fight for land alone. They fought for memory, for gods who still demanded blood. Their discipline was absolute, formations moving like a single living creature. The jungle hid their movement. The chants drowned their fear. They pressed forward even when bullets tore through the first ranks. But gunpowder doesn't fear courage. The rifles thundered. The drums fell silent. And the red earth of Dahomey drank the price of defiance. Yet even in defeat, the French wrote of them with awe. They said the women of Dahomey charged with the calm of destiny, as if they already knew. No empire truly dies when its courage is remembered. When the guns went silent, the kingdom of Dahomey was gone. Its palaces burned, its drums broken, but its spirit refused to die. The French called it pacification, but to those who remembered, it was sacrifice. The Mino didn't vanish. They became stories. whispers passed from mother to daughter, guardians in memory. Today they call them Amazons, but their true name, Agojie, meant the king's wives, bound not by marriage, but by oath, to serve, to protect, to die with honor. Their discipline was not born of cruelty, but of devotion, a devotion that Europe could not understand. And though Dahomey fell, its fire crossed the ocean. You can see it in the faces of women who still rise against impossible odds. You can feel it in the stories that refuse to be silenced. History buried them. But here, under the same sky they once fought for, we speak their names again. Agojie, warriors of Dahomey, feared by empires, remembered by time. Centuries later, the name Dahomey still bleeds through the soil of Benin. They've tried to rewrite them as myths, but you can still hear the iron in their footsteps. These were not women waiting to be saved. They were the sword, the nation's defense, the heartbeat of resistance. When the French cannons roared, the Amazons stood until the last drumbeat. They knew they would fall, but never kneel. And in that final charge, the echo of their cries split history open. From the jungles of Dahomey to the ports of Agojie, the world finally saw that power could wear braids and carry blades. Their story was never meant to survive colonial memory. But legends have their own oxygen. They breathe through whispers, tattoos, and the rhythm of drums that still call their names. So when you hear the name Agojie, remember, it means king's wives. But what it truly meant was king's warriors. They weren't born to follow. They were born to remind the world that the fiercest armies are sometimes born from silence, scars, and daughters who refuse to disappear.